everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Eastonic Sports View. My name is Eastonic, and I'm joined by my brand new, incredible, handsome co-host, Wheela!
How are you doing, everyone? It is an absolute honor to join such a prestigious podcast like this one. Easton, what are we talking about today?
Well, I'm excited to bring you an interesting topic today. We'll be discussing why I believe that the All-Star Games in any sport is an utter waste of time. These games have no impact on team standings. They happen in the middle of a season and seem like a way to give the best players in the league less time to rest. If anything, at the cost of a significant risk of injury.
Well, that's interesting. Because honestly, Eastonic, I completely disagree. These All-Star games are a great way to celebrate the best players in the league. It gives them an honor and a great goal to work towards. It's a motivator to be the best of the best and show the world what the greatest players can do.
Wow, I really wasn't expecting that, Willa, but it's fine. I'll just have to prove you wrong. First of all, let's talk about how All-Star
Let's see.
games affect team standings. Long story short, they don't, Willa. I don't know what you're thinking. The only reason why the All-Star games are here is to give the really, really good players a chance to show off in front of sold-out crowds at these games.
Sure, but isn't that fun? Having a sold out crowd is such a great atmosphere. Not only does it provide good revenue, but it's a good motivator for these players to keep going.
Maybe, but they also have absolutely zero effect on the teams and where their position is. Because if you really think about it, you ever see the news? Willa, think about this, bro. Have you ever seen on the
I'm thinking,
news
I'm thinking.
if this team wins the All-Star game, this specific team will move up to 5th place?
Well, I haven't, but still.
Well, no. This never happens, Willa. So the players playing it have no real motivation to try their hardest, which leads to boring gameplay. Personally, I've stopped watching the All-Star games in certain sports because of this. To add on to the boredom of all, some of these All-Star things are a few days long. For example, the MLB and NBA, the two leagues all host their own All-Star games, of course, and the Home Run Derby too, for baseball. Both events could be fun to be there in person, but all that does for the
That's what I'm
winner
saying.
is bragging rights that have no effect for their team. So, Willa, despite the possible fun that it comes with them that you're saying, this time is being wasted for something that doesn't matter to the players. Because while the players in it aren't getting time to rest, the rest of the league is putting them at a disadvantage for future games. Which actually leads me to my next point.
Alright, but first, let's talk about that for a moment. You're right, these games have no real effect on team standings, but that doesn't need to be the ultimate goal, does it? Sports are meant to be fun, to be enjoyed. Not everything needs to have some number attached to it to prove its value, don't you think? I mean, people play sports at home for fun. Why not prove that that can still happen even at the major scale?
Well, you aren't wrong there about how, every sports player wants to have fun, of course. Like, who wouldn't? But the normal games are fun as
Yeah.
well. The lack of a score effect, I'm saying, takes away the competitive edge that makes these games thrilling in the first place. You know, Willa, all teams in every sports league are fighting to win the championship. For many teams, it's a once in a lifetime.
Well, once in a lifetime, unless you're like Dodgers or something. LOL!
Lol, lol, lol,
But I
lol.
believe But I believe that the All-Star games are a good way to provide a game that is less competitive and more celebratory. You know, these games definitely don't change the standings, but they're fun. They celebrate the players. Not every player can come to these games, and that's exactly what makes them special. The greatest players in the league come together to be cheered on and to be reminded that they are the best of the best. Besides, these games help them play off against other fantastic players, which can help them learn and improve their technique against all types of athletes.
Well, I understand what you're trying to say. Obviously, you're not too wrong in all this. But you know what's a better celebration of greatness? Being number one, baby, in the
Okay.
rankings. All-Star games do nothing to move the teams toward that. The teams rotate who they play against frequently. Like, is that where they can so that they can study where new techniques is.
Well, even okay, sure. You're stuttering a lot, but I get you. Even if these games are a waste of time, where's the harm in them?
Well, professional sports players desperately need time to rest and heal after the intense rounds of games they play. You know,
Right.
if you think about it, like, imagine you playing a full court game. You need to have multiple breaks and not just play a full 40 minutes, right?
I suppose.
Most leagues have close to 100, if not more than 100 games per season. This absolutely leaves them out of breath. And instead of giving them time to rest and give their bodies a chance to get back to where it needs to be, they put them in another game. What are they doing? I know what they're doing. Wasting time that could be used to
Having a
improve
good
their
time.
bodies for the next games and playoffs. It's just, guys, I don't know what it is, but I think it's ridiculous and definitely unfair.
Well, okay, but that's a small price to pay. They get plenty of time in between games to rest. So what's one more game going to cost them? They have studied and practiced their entire lives to build up the resistance to do this. So sure, maybe it's a little bit of extra work that they have to do, but it's worth it for the celebration, for the honor, for the good times of playing in such an important game.
Well, Willa, are you sure about that? Because like in my life, I was watching sports, and it's really easy to notice how players look absolutely exhausted after their games. Like, man, they look like they could puke. As they approached the late stages
I
of the
got
games, they began to have trouble even running across the court. For example, I'm a big Fox fan. Fear the deer.
boo.
And during one of their games, I saw Giannis Antetokounmpo, the absolute GOAT,
Yeah, right.
walking a lot through the court after a great game of getting a lot of points and rebounds for the team. Their body was so tired, their stamina was depleted, and they needed time to rest. Imagine that, Willa. Dozens of games back to back. It's so much work. That's why the days in between games are critical to the players to recover. In all sports, of course, but especially in the MLB, where teams play almost every other day. But All-Star games take this away from them. They put in another game that's so pointless and useless to the team standings and kind of takes the fun out of it. So they can't rest properly. But the rest of the league gets to rest? Pretty unfair, right, Willa?
Maybe. But if the games are so tiring, why not just opt out of them? They get an option to.
Well, you're right. They can, and yeah, they do. But in the most recent All-Star game, Otani, the undisputed GOAT of MLB, decided to opt out to rest and give his injury time to heal.
Otani-sama?
But teams have reserves and send in others to do it instead. But worst of all, not only do the players get tired during this, but they face a serious risk of injury they normally wouldn't. Every game of every sport can pose some risk of injury, some greater than others, of course, but the more games these athletes play, the higher the chance of injury. All-Star games don't include every player in the league, but rather the best players in it. During these games, star players could get hurt. This is detrimental to the rest of the
You mean
team.
detrimental?
Yeah, obviously, Willa.
Detrimental
Imagine
to the
how
rest
the
of the team.
Dodgers would fare if the GOAT
The
Shohei Otani got
GOAT!
injured during one of these games. Not very good, right?
Well, that's true. Every game does pose a pretty significant risk of injury, but that's just something you're going to have to accept. Playing in these games is an absolute honor for these players. So even if they have to scratch their knee a little bit, it makes sense. They didn't sign up to play baseball or basketball or football because there was no risk of injury. Besides, you said these players don't even put enough effort. So is there really that much of a risk of injury?
I mean, not necessarily. Even if there's a slightly reduced chance to get hurt, a freak accident like tripping over yourself or a ball flying a bit too fast straight into your face will always be a risk, Willa.
Well, still, regardless, injury is a part of sports. These All-Star games are still a great way to show off the sporting prowess in a monumental part of sports culture. To get rid of them would be an absolute insult to the great people playing these games. So maybe maybe there is a risk of injury. But I think that they still get a chance to heal after and before these games. And the risk isn't enough to stop us from doing it.
Well, Willa, honestly, I don't think we can agree on this, but that's okay because, Willa, it's been a long fight between our two favorite teams because as long as we can agree the Brewers are
What?
undeniable goats and are better than the Twins.
Okay. Don't even play with me. You're being ridiculous.
So
Keyword,
thanks
keyword.
for
I'm
listening
already
and
speaking
tell
up.
us what
This
you're
is ridiculous. This is
what
so
you
dumb.
think.
You're
Are
so
the
dumb.
All-Star
You're
games a
so dumb.
waste,
What are you
or is
talking
there a
about? The Twins are the
cultural
goats.
significance
Come
great
on, man.
enough
Come
to
on, man.
justify the time and risk they pose, Willa? Why are you why are you funding this, Willa? It's so simple. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching.
It's not! Rate us 5 stars on Spotify and give us a like if you're on YouTube. Thank you.